In this video, we'll be seeing how to implement webhooks in Razorpay. Webhooks are one way that a web application can send information to another application in real time when a specific event happens. So this means that when an event happens, the Razorpay server will send information to our server. So here in this case, we'll be seeing how to integrate order paid event. So when somebody make a payment, the Razorpay will send the details regarding the payment to our webhook URL. So we can receive those details and do the needful. Like we can insert the data to our database, or we can send an email to the user like a receipt or something. So we can do anything like that. We'll be seeing how to implement this. Here you can see Razorpay documentation URL. I'll give this link on the description. You can check that out. You can read this page to know more about webhook. So here, come to this page and go to sample payload and select orders. Now you can see order paid event. So we'll be seeing how to implement order paid event. So let's go to the IDE and start implementing. So here you can see I have created a page index.php. We'll be implementing the code here. First of all, we have to import Razorpay to our project. For that, go to this URL. I will give the link in the description. So this is the Razorpay PHP library GitHub page. So you have to copy this line and go to your project. Here, open the terminal. Now you have to paste the command here. For this to work, you need Composer installed on your system. I already have Composer installed. If you don't have Composer installed, simply search for Composer and install this. You'll get an .exe file for Windows. And you have to add the path to the environment variable. That's all. Then you can run this command in the command prompt. Then after that, you will be having a folder inside the main folder. You can see vendor folder. Inside that you can see Razorpay. You can also see composer.json file and composer.log file. And let's start implementing the code. Go to the index.php, open the PHP tag. First of all, we have to require the autoload.php file from vendor folder. Now we'll be setting a header status 200. Then we have to receive the data that Razorpay sent to a variable. Let's close the terminal first. Okay, now you can create a variable. In order to receive the data, you have to use the function file get contents. Inside that, you have to give php :// Here we are getting the data as a JSON object. So we have to convert this to array. Now we have to give the key ID and key secret for Razorpay. For that, log into Razorpay dashboard. If you don't have an account, create a new account. You can use the link in the description. Create the account and go to settings. And you can go to the API key section. So here you can see generate test key. So you can generate a new key. I'm already having a key. So you have to copy the key ID and key secret from here and create a variable here. So here you can see key ID and have stored the key ID. This is a test key ID from Razorpay and key secret. So store them inside a variable. After that, you have to give the event type. So let's create a variable, constant variable, order paid. Now here you have to give the event. So for that, you have to go to the Razorpay documentation and come to this documentation. I will give the link for this on the description, or you can go to razorpay.com/docs/webhooks/ payloads slash orders. Okay, you can simply Google this one and you will get this. So you have to go to this link and you can see order dot paid. So this is the event that we are going to implement. So copy this and you have to paste it here. Now you have to convert this events to an array. Event array. Here we are only having one event. So if you are having more than one, you simply have to give one comma here and add the other event. Okay. You can add the event just like this one. Okay. Constant, the event variable name, and then give the event type. That's all. And after this, you have to create an if condition to check if the data contains the event or not. Inside this if condition, you have to check if the signature is present or not. For that, if is set of $server, inside that you have to check the Razorpay signature. HTTP x Razorpay signature equal to true. Now open the if condition. So here we are checking if the signature is present. If it is present, we have to open a try catch. Try. Now inside the try, you have to create $API equal to new API. Now this is the class inside the Razorpay. Now you have to pass the key ID and key secret. Now you have to call a function named verify webhook signature. So for that, $API of utility verify webhook signature. Inside that, we have to pass the $post variable. Now this is the variable that we receive here on the top. After that, you have to give the signature. So this is the variable. So copy this and you have to pass it here. Then you have to pass a secret. Now this is a type of password which is used to verify the webhook. So let's give something like this. Now after that, you can create the catch. So here we will be catching the error if the signature verification fails. For that signature verification error, create a variable. Now you can log this if an error occurs. Now after this, you have to go after the catch method inside the if condition. Now you have to create a switch. Inside that, we have to pass the data of event. Now the first case will be the event that we have given here. Okay. Here we are only having one event. If you are having more than one event, you have to use switch like this. So I am using switch in order to make it easy and understandable for all. So you can use order paid. Now you have to implement what to happen if the event order paid is occurring. So if order paid happens, then let's take the status of the payment, email, contact, order ID, payment ID, and let's store this into a variable. Now let's take the status. For that, create a variable status. Now go to the Razorpay documentation and scroll down on this page, the order sample payload page. I'll give the link for this in the description. And here you can see a sample of JSON response. So here you can see inside the payload, we are having payment. Then inside that we are having entity. Then we are having the ID. Now this is the payment ID. Just like this, we are having order here. Okay. Then entity, then the ID. Okay. Then in order to get the status, you have to go to payload and you can see the order. Then inside that you can see the status, and the status depends upon the payment. Okay. So this shows the status of the payment. Then you can get the status like that. For email, you can go to payload, payments, and inside that you can see entity. Then here you can see the email. Then you can also get the contact here. See? So let's see how we can access all this. Okay. So here, $data of payload of order of entity of status. So we got the status here. This will return the status. So here we will get the status of the payment inside this variable. Now let's take the email, contact, and order ID and payment ID to a variable. Now you can see, just like the status, I have taken the email, contact, order ID, and payment ID. Here you can see inside the payment, payload, payment, entity, email. So you can see that. You can check the Razorpay documentation and take any data like this. Okay. Now after this, you have to create an if condition. If here you have to check if the status is equal to paid. $status equal to paid. Now if the status equals paid, that means that the payment is successful. Now here you can do anything. You can do the insertion to database or send email to user as a receipt or anything. So basically that's all with the implementation of Razorpay Webhook. Now let's see what we can do. So let's take all these data and let's insert into database. So for that, we can create an SQL query. First of all, let's connect to the database. For that, $con equal to MySQLi connect. Here you have to give localhost. Then you have to give the username, password, and the database name. Right now, I am not going to give any username and password. So we have to upload this file to the server, and we have to use the database name and username and password which we create inside the server. So you have to host this inside a server in order to get the URL. So let's create if $con, if connection is successful, you can do the insertion. For that, $SQL equal to, now you simply have to insert to the database. For that, you can use the insert query. So I am going to cut this portion so that we could make the video shorter. So here you can see this is the insert query. So insert into table name and give the column name, email, contact, order ID, payment ID, status, and we have to insert the values. So we have to give this single quote. After that, close the double quotes, this one, and then use the dot operator. Then give the variable name, then the dot operator, and start it again like this. close the single quote here. So like that we are giving email, contact, order ID, payment ID and status. So this is our insert query. Now we have to run this. For that, if MySQLi query, pass the connection variable, then the SQL query. Now if this is true, we can do something like, maybe we want to send an email, you can send the email here. For now I'm not sending any email because we don't have the email server ready, so I will give a comment here. Okay, now our webhook is ready. So now let's host this inside our server, and we have to give the username, password and create a database. So let's go to the server side. So here you can see I have created a database named Razorpay. So inside this you have to create the table, that is one we have mentioned on the insert query, Razorpay Webhook. You can also change the name according to your wish. So I have used this one. Now we need 6 columns and you can create. Here you have to give an ID for the table. You have to set this as auto increment. So let's zoom out, and on the right side you can see AI. Now this is for auto increment. Tick it and you can see the primary key option is also selected for this. So you have to set this as primary key also. So we are having ID, which is primary key, and auto increment. Then you have to give the email. You can set this as text. Then we have to save the contact. We can use text here also. And let's give the order ID. Here we have to use varchar. And let's give 500. So let's zoom out because we have to give this unique. You have to make this unique. Okay. Order ID should be unique. So let's create payment ID. And same for that also, varchar of 500. And we have to use unique for this also. So the payment ID and order ID should be unique. Okay. Now the last one is status. Status, you can set it as text itself, no problem. Now you can go to the bottom and click save. So here you can see the ID, email, contact, order ID and payment ID, then the status. We are having ID as primary key and also auto increment. We are also having order ID and payment ID as unique. Okay. So that's all. Now we are having the table ready. Now let's give the details of the database on the API. So let's give the username, password and database name. So I will give the localhost username, password and the database name. So you have to give the username and password, which is for the server that you are using. So that's all. You have to host this inside a server. Otherwise you won't be able to generate the URL for this. So here I am using this test name and username and password. You have to use the original one from the server. Okay. So let's host this inside a server and check it. So I have created a URL for the webhook. So you have to go to the Razorpay dashboard and go to the webhook section. Go to settings, webhook and add new webhook. Now here you have to paste the URL of the webhook. So you can see I have hosted this inside this directory on the server. So you can see that. Then you have to give the link here. Okay. So here on the secret section, we have to use the secret that we have given on the code. So let's go to the code and you can see inside the function verify webhook signature on the last parameter. So copy this and you can paste it on the secret. So here you can see we have given the secret. Then you can see an option for alert email. You can give the email here. So the next one, the important part is active events. Okay, you have to activate the events you need to trigger. Okay, here we need order paid. So let's check the order paid event. So if you need any other events, you can check it here. We only need order paid. So check it and click create webhook. So you can see that we have created the webhook URL and added it to Razorpay dashboard. So you can see that we have added it. Now let's try this. So in order to try this, we have to integrate the Razorpay payment. So I have used one from the previous video. If you want to see how to integrate Razorpay on web using PHP, you can check the video. I will give the link on the description and on the I button on the top. So you can see that. So let's click this button. So here you can see the payment option has came. This is the Razorpay's payment option. Since we are not passing the phone number and email by default, it will show an option to enter the phone number and email first. So let's enter a demo phone number. Let's enter a demo email also. So we have entered the contact number and email. Now let's click proceed. So since we are using test mode, you can simply make the payment by clicking on the QR code and wait for some time, and it will redirect to the success page automatically. You don't need to make any payment for that. Okay. So this is the feature for testing provided by Razorpay. Now wait for some time. See, it redirect to the success page. So the payment is successful. Now let's check the database. Check if the webhook is successfully working or not. So we were having a small error with the code. So that is, while decoding the JSON, you have to specify the second parameter, that is true. Then only it will be converted to an associative array. So there was an error. So we have fixed it now. So you simply have to add a true on the 7th line when we are decoding the JSON data. So that's all. Now let's try running it again. So now we are going to retry the payment. So I have entered the details. Now let's try clicking on the show QR code. Now this will automatically redirect to the success page since this is a demo. So it's redirected to the success page. Now let's check our database. So this is the table that I have posted to the server. Now we are having email ID, contact, order ID, payment ID, status. So there are no data right now. So let's try refreshing this. So now you can see the data that we just given before. So you can see the payment is successful. You can see the status. So that's all. So hope you understand how to implement Razorpay Webhook. So if you are having any doubts, you can leave a comment and I will respond to that. If you want the complete source code of this project, you can check this link. I will give the link on the description. You can check that out. Currently, I haven't uploaded the project to this server. I will upload it and give the link to download it. So you can simply download it and get started with that. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel for more such videos.